Okay, well, good evening, everyone. We are in the Women, Gender, and Sexuality Department of the University of Connecticut at Storrs. I am Professor Serena Anderlini-D'Onofrio, and I am here with my class in Ecosexuality and the Ecology of Love. We have been working all semester on this concept. What is ecosexuality? And does love have an ecology? And I would like to introduce this forum where the students are going to speak. Can you turn around so that we can see our participants? Okay. Yeah, you can look into the video. Yes, it has really been a wonderful semester for me, definitely, I hope for everyone. And I want to begin this forum by sharing a little bit about what was my intention in setting up this class. The intentions was really to generate a learning community, an inspired and collaborative learning community whose mental energies would be organized around the vanishing point where science, the humanities, and the arts coincide. And I find that ecosexuality and the ecology of love is a perfect vehicle for this because the topic serves to synergize parallel discourses. Love is a central trope that inspires in the arts and the humanities. And then ecology, which relates, of course, to the science of nature and the environment. And then, therefore, it brings together these two discourses that appear to be separate, as we also talk about the expressions of love from the most cosmic form of this expression to the most intimate ones. And during the course of the semester, we also asked, why is this synergy of disciplinary discourses so important at this time? Why? Because humankind is faced with global dilemmas and a major crisis that ranges in its effects from food to relationships to communities to the climate. So my intention was also to create a space of discourse where we could be present to the fact that a shift in paradigm is necessary. To design a new future where interdependence is recognized. And also that this shift is possible when all disciplinary discourses set aside their agendas to converge in engineering new interpretations of the force of love, the ecology of life, as what I suggest is an art, a skill, and a technology that helps humanity make peace with our generous hostess, the third planet, also known in Gaia science as Gaia. And with this introduction about the kind of intention that motivated me to create this course, I would like to leave the floor to the students who would like to express a little bit about their experience in being in this class. Who would like to go first? Introduce yourself. Yes. Ryan, are you going to speak?
If we can address any question that you've
Yes,
kind of mentioned, we don't have to go in any order.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking that I think it's important.
Can you state your name, Ryan?
My name is Rianne Peterson.
Okay.
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, I think that it's important that this course is offered at U Conn because I think our generation kind of doesn't really get a lot of information on, or good information anyway, about the environment and sex and relationships and stuff like that. I think that technology kind of is like taken over our world with social media and things like that, and really like limited human interaction. And I think that this course has really like opened me up and like broadened my mind and kind of confirmed to me that there are other people out there that like care about people's thoughts and opinions and not just their Facebook photos and things like that. So I think that this course like is really important for people our age and I've learned a lot about the environment too, but I don't really know where I was going with all of that.
Thank you, Ryan. It's just a very good way to break the ice, and you can hear from others.
I can go next.
Yes. Can you state your name?
I'm Adam Kutsurek, and I think it's important for this. I think it's important to be a part of this course, and I wish that more people could be a part of it, because I think what it does that's very unique is that it brings together a group of people from different age groups within U Conn, and from all the different disciplines, really, to have a sort of discourse on things that are very interdisciplinary, because it really affects all of us. These are human issues. These aren't issues that face solely people in the sciences, arts, and humanities. These are issues that impact us all in one way or another. And I think, you know, we each have certain things to contribute with our different major backgrounds and our different life experiences. And I think framing how we live and how we interact as, or to abolish the notion of an individual and to think that we are all part of an ecosystem is really a revolutionary mode of thought. And I think it acts as a certain conduit on which we can really branch out how we view things and how we perceive things and how we could address problems and issues.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to add something.
Yes.
I think that just to like flow with what Adam was saying, I really do appreciate and am thankful for our group size. For one, we did start with like a lot more people on the first day, so to be whittled down to 6 people who I think all are from different backgrounds, as you said, I think that really benefited all of us. And I think I just want to say that I am thankful and grateful for what we all have had to bring, because we have all brought something different.
Yes, I want us to give our viewers a breakdown on these backgrounds. Can you say your names and major and majors very briefly, starting with you, Michael?
Hi, I'm Michael Marinetz. I'm a history and molecular biology double major.
Yes, and Adam?
I'm Adam Kutsurek, and I was originally an Evo Bio major, although I'm considering changing that to gender studies and political science.
Thank you. And
Rianne, I'm human development and family studies.
I'm Alexandra Mayer, and I don't like cameras. And I'm international relations and English, but I might switch my English to gender studies.
Hi, I'm Lisa Moss, and my major is speech language and hearing sciences.
yes, we do have a real diversity, and our video recorder here, John, is...
I'm John, and I'm an English major.
Thank you, John. Okay. And what I ask the students to comment about is especially 3 areas, and we will get to all the varieties, not in order, spontaneously. Okay, one was to how the course has helped them expand the horizon of what we understand as the amorous and the sexual aspects of our lives. Another aspect was to envision ways that one's education can contribute to help one design with others the kind of life and world that we desire, the kind of sustainable, healthy and vibrant lives and world that we desire. And a third area is how the study of ecosexuality can help one experience existence in ways that are more attuned to the ecology of life, to the metabolism of the earth, and to the cycles of life and homeostasis. Is something that Adam addressed when he proposed the idea of interpreting oneself as an ecosystem that is connected with others. So I would like then to then open up again to see who would like to address any of these 3 points or all of them.
I guess I'll go.
Alyssa.
So what I just think is really important is, especially like when I'm walking through campus, I just have an individualized view on life. Like going to class and doing this, like everything's about me. But through like a lot of our readings, I've realized that since we are all a part of this ecosystem, it's much bigger than like you. It's like the world, everything you do has an impact on something else, which is like reoccurring in a lot of our readings. Like if we do something here, it might have an impact somewhere else in the world, which you might not realize because we're so concerned about going to class, getting an education. But I guess this brings us back kind of to the first day of class when we were talking about like what we saw for the world. And I said just people doing things because that's what would make them happy. So, and this course kind of uses, like, redefines how maybe you would have thought of yourself in the beginning, kind of reestablishing your identity. And like a big portion of like a lot of the readings that kind of like opened me up more was like sexual fluidity, because the whole concept of categories is like really concerning to me, because so many people are judgmental, being like, if they see like two girls holding hands, they automatically assume like they're lesbians or things like that. So I just think it's really important that we kind of get rid of those categories and those labels that we have, and I think that's like the first step to like expanding our views on like love and all these different sexualities. Do you really need to even define yourself? Is like kind of the question that I have.
Yeah, I'll expand on that too. I think the topics of like polyamory that we went through this year, which John might have something to say after me, but that kind of really expanded, well, just because you studied it, mostly, to clarify, video. Anyways, I was thinking that those things I obviously did not understand really before we entered this class, so that kind of goes with what Elise was saying about the like labels and categories. It's kind of like, I think through this course, we've all kind of come to understand that love is something that's not categorizable, really, and like not quantifiable in terms of who and what and how many and things like that. So that's something I've definitely learned about what we understand about the amorous aspects of life and love.
And one of the first books we read, The 7 Natural Laws of Love, was one of the books that really got to me, because one of the main things in it was that like love can't be measured, and like there's no limit on love. And I really liked that because it kind of just like opens you up to like love everything, love the earth, love your friends, and you don't have to like choose like, and I'm not talking about like polyamory specifically, but just like you can open up yourself to the world and to the people in it and just do acts of kindness just because of all the love that you have in your heart. I don't know.
Thank you, Alexandra. Yes, I can take this and see if those who we haven't heard yet, if you're interested in making any comments. Our video camera, John, would you like to make any comments on any of those areas?
I agree. I agree with all those points made.
Okay.
I did not mean to call you out.
Right.
Thanks, Rhiannon.
I just thought that maybe.
Well, just wanted to give everyone a chance.
Yeah.
But, anything else?
Well, I guess
Adam.
one thing on the point made, expand horizons of what we understand, the amorous aspects of life to be. I think that is, it sounds so simple, but that's really groundbreaking, because I think in many ways we are discouraged from talking about love and touchy-feely things, which I think it forces us to confront the fact that, everyone loves. To be human is to love. Mm-hmm. And I think even, in gender studies courses, we talk about genders and sexualities more from a statistical point of view, or from a geographic point of view and the implications, but we very rarely talk about the individual feelings of love and amorousness. And I think, partly due to the class size and the open-mindedness of everyone, we were able to get maybe on more personal levels, which I think just enriched the experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Anything else?
I think
Alexandra.
Yeah. I think something too that I would like to add on to this is like a lot of our classes are very individual to the specific topic, and this class kind of brings everything together. So like when we talk about these big topics, we all have something to say from a different major or different, like, I know that was said already, but it just all intertwines in love, in the environment, in everything that we discuss.
Can you explain, as you do in many of your contributions to the class, how the theory connects with the practice? Can you give a little more to our viewers about that?
Like how so the way I interpret ecosexuality and Gaia theory is that humans are not separate from the earth. We're part of this earth, and there are like tons of symbiotic relationships. So, for example, like the trees give out oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide, and we need each other for that. So I think that once we stop separating ourselves from nature, we can start to care more about it, and because we're not individual from it. And then also recognizing that we're not individual from anyone else or any other species gives us like a grander recognition that we need to care about everyone around us.
Yes, so it's also a way to view love more as a part of the forces of nature rather than a result of human civilization, for example.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Anybody else would like to go on some of these topics? Anybody who hasn't spoken before, like Michael, for example.
I think in addition to what everybody's talked about with how we all come from different backgrounds, I think this class provides a significant contribution, and that there should be more classes in this manner that sort of synthesize everything together, because it sort of exposes people who don't have as much of a scientific background to issues that are important to them, and helps them learn a bit more about the science that's important for their day-to-day lives. And at the same time, people who may be approaching it from a scientific background learn more about sort of the world around them and how to relate to other people, and how other people see the world, which I don't think they're necessarily exposed to that much in scientific classes. In general, also I thought, in addition to sort of broadening everyone's horizons, the introduction of like new concepts and ideas, even beyond polyamory, sort of the idea of compersion, like that I think was pretty much new to everybody in the room, and sort of is a very interesting notion of an emotion that sort of goes against an emotion that all of us would feel naturally otherwise, of jealousy.
Yeah. I thought compersion was one of the cool things we learned this semester. If you want somebody to explain it, like, I wouldn't mind.
Go ahead.
So compersion basically is the opposite of jealousy, where that you love someone so much that you want to share them and show them off and share them with as many people as possible, in a way. That's kind of how I took it anyway.
Okay.
That you like that you don't want to keep them all to yourself, because I think that's how I interpreted it. I don't know how other people interpreted it, but I thought
there was no ownership in polyamory.
Yeah, I thought that was a really
exactly. And how does that expand beyond how do we expand that to embrace the hostess, this planet that is so generous that she wants us over? She's not kicking us out. Is there a way that you can extrapolate from that and see how our...
So how does compersion apply to the earth?
Well, who is the compersive in, when love becomes manifest in our lives? Where does it happen? Does it happen on Mars?
Well, it happens on Earth, and I think, we've discussed often in class the paradigm shift of Mother Earth to Lover Earth, because we view mothers in society as vast, inexhaustible resources who will give and be happy, and who don't expect gratitude. But that's not how Earth operates. Earth is just one huge ecosystem, a big, homeostasis being maintained of all these different ecosystems. How we are just, organelles are to cells as we are to Earth. We're all part of the organism. And about how we changed the paradigm from Mother Earth to Lover Earth, because a lover can leave you if he or she does not feel as if you are being grateful. And that just speaks to how we need to reshape our views about Earth and how we treat Earth, because there will be revolt, as in the book, The Revenge of Gaia.
Right. The Earth may feel abused by us in this sort of relationship, and this may have some effects on how welcome we might be. And anything else? What I would like to do to finish up this video.
I could take a turn
Yes.
if you want to be
Okay.
seen.
No, not necessarily. No, that's fine. I would like for everyone to talk a little bit about the projects you're working on.
Our final project.
Yes, yes. Some of them have, sort of speak from the personal viewpoint, from the personal experience. In other words, use your life as a bit of an experiment, and some of them are less of a more objective, but we welcome both modalities, and actually we'd like to integrate these two modalities. Alyssa, would you like to start?
Sure. So for my final project, I'm focusing on mainstream ideal of love versus ecosexuality ideal of love, and how I'm going about this for my final project is I'm going to start my paper with how my perception of love is defined by culturally bound things like my family and different things I learned growing up. And what I'm hoping to get out of this experience is seeing how my original ideas before coming into this class has been shaped by the ecosexuality perspective. And for this project, I'm going to create a list of different interview questions, some as basic as trying to see if there is a connection between people who have that more symbiotic and sexual fluid relationship with people that maybe they were ex-lovers and things like that. During this project, I'm not going to categorize people because that will be have a bias and throw people off probably. And I'm going to ask questions from that respect, or even questions even concerning, do you think we can love things like the earth or animals along those respects? Because before this class, I didn't really think of the earth as a lover, or even be able to love objects other than things who aren't human. So I'm trying to see mainstream perspective.
Thank you, Alyssa. We don't have much time, but if you could go for a minute or two on your project, that would be great.
So for my project, I'm talking about a trip that I took recently with one of my friends to subantarctic Chile, and I'm talking about my experience through the eyes of ecosexuality.
Patagonia what is your
Patagonia,
destination?
yeah.
Can you elaborate in a sentence or two?
Yeah, so basically there are a lot of times when I was in these amazing, beautiful places, and I just felt so small and insignificant compared to the rest of the world, but it wasn't a bad insignificance. It made me feel like I was part of something that was needed to help the world and help this earth. And I think that was the first time that I really had this learning experience with nature. So I want to talk about that, as well as some of the people that I met and their outlooks on life.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexandra. And Ryan, would you like to talk
Sure.
about your project?
My final project is more of a compiling my personal journey into words, really, of how I've been looking to kind of improve myself and get myself to a healthier place, and how ecosexuality kind of came into my life at a time when I was already planning on going on this journey anyway. So being enrolled in the course and reading the text and experiencing the things all kind of fit what I was already trying to do. So I'm kind of synthesizing the things that I've been doing for myself, like enjoying nature and exercising and eating better, and all sorts of things going together, and how the books have helped me and given me guidance, really. I did a reparenting exercise in one of the books that I'm going to talk about in my final paper and things like that. So it kind of talks about my own journey, and then my plans for once I fix and repair my own ecosystem, what I can do for the world after
Thank you. So we see projects that really have to do with community, as Alyssa, and how people perceive their their bonds and their interdependence with each other. We see projects that really lead some of our students to the extreme periphery, the extreme, the less explored parts of our planet Gaia, and really create a new relationship with this planet by really exploring these almost unknown and where nature prevails. The forces of nature make us feel very humble. And we see another student who is interested in really focusing on her own ecosystem for now and creating more balance within that. And can you go next, Adam?
Yes. So what my final project was a kind of ecosexual diary. That's the kind of theme that I'm running with, where I've been keeping a log of day-to-day activities, feelings, and things that have happened, and I'm trying to see them through the lens of an ecosexual, and how I'm trying to live my life in a more ecosexual way. And Rihanna's right, many of the books do have a sort of instructive quality, especially like EcoSex, Go Green Between the Sheets, The 7 Natural Laws of Love, and others can have messages that can be interpreted as such as with Vandana Shiva's Monocultures of the Mind, and about how I'm trying to live my life in a more holistic, healthy way, because I think a lot of the advice is not only good, it's going to be necessary, if it's not already necessary, for how we should be living. And I think being able to view oneself as an ecosystem rather than as an individual is very, not even selfless, because that would imply self, it is very realistic. And I feel like this is a way I've wanted to live for a while, more green, better relationships with family and friends, and I wanted to have this personal side with my project.
Thank you very much, Adam. And naturally, an ecosystem, which is also an individual, aggregated now in this form of individual, but is really a place for many different organisms to interact within and generate balance or harmony, which is really what you are working toward. Thank you. And Michael, would you like to speak about your project?
Yeah,
Can you look into the camera? Thank you.
My paper is on Gaia theory and sort of the effects that genetically modified crops may have on Gaia theory and sort of the ecosystems of both the planet and the individuals and the animals and plants that are affected by the use of genetically modified crops. Before I get into the genetically modified crop part of my paper, I'd first sort of give two perspectives of Gaia theory by looking at James Lovelock's macroscopic approach to it, and then Lynn Margulis's more microscopic look at the various systems of regulation that bacteria and other microorganisms may have on regulating the Earth's ecosystem, before looking into how genetically modified crops may change the balance of the various functions of the ecosystem.
And can you explain a little bit how you see this change of balance, that is have to do with the genetic modification or with the use of it that is made?
I think there's problems with both in terms of how they're being practiced, both in terms of harming the genetic variety that occurs in nature, as well as sort of destroying the environment and how the crops are then used in the production of food.
Yes, like the externalities,
Yeah.
for example, the costs to the environment of producing food so intensively, and the cost to biodiversity of really emphasizing only certain varieties. Thank you, Michael. And John, would you like to talk about your project?
Sure. I wanted to look at the sex lives of people of Central Asian nomadic culture, specifically the ancient Mongols and the modern Tibetans, and see how that impacted their ecological view of life and their culture.
Can you give a little bit of specifics for our readers who may not know very much about these cultures?
the ancient Mongols were surprisingly feminist in their, especially in their homes. Women often initiated their husbands into the sex act. Men often were very passive about it and very embarrassed, whereas women were very sexually aggressive as opposed to their outer lifestyles. When the Mongols in the 13th century expanded outwards, they came into contact with China and later became the Chinese and Mongol cultures were symbioted. Is that the proper?
Yes.
They were symbioted, and the Chinese, who were a very, very patriarchal culture with strict gender roles, was one of the things that the Mongols later adopted. And in several of the books that I read, you can see the association between the disintegration of gender roles and the collapse of traditional Mongol society. And in the same way, in the 1970s, Ladakh, a Tibetan area in India, experienced a similar sort of symbiosis that led to the disintegration of both their traditional gender roles in response to Western ones and their ecological destruction.
Thank you. And in fact, when we talk about the Mongols of the 13th century, we are talking about foragers and gatherers, people who really lived off of what the territory yielded and didn't even practice agriculture, and therefore lived quite frugally. And we see that their belief system was still quite matrifocal, correct?
Right.
Yes, and thank you very much. So I can pass this to you again, and we can wrap this up by thanking everyone for participating, and by recognizing ourselves as a learning community. We really have shared our ideas very democratically. We have all participated, and we have created a space where really the contributions are appreciated for what they are, and therefore the symbiosis and the cooperation has been the dominant mode in our learning community. And I want to express my appreciation to all of you for being in this course, and to the University of Connecticut for enabling the first edition of this course. Thank you. Yeah, you can turn the button.